Hey friends, are you ready to be ignited by my friend T? There we go. T, ignite my friends.
Some bands have pyro. King Gizzard has tea.
Oh shit. We got lumens. Fuck it.
You got lumens. Fuck it. You want some lumens directly in your eyeballs?
Hey Joe, where'd you get that t-shirt?
I got it online, baby. Brand is Donkey. Donkey wear.
Donkey wear.
This is the
Spotted trousers.
This is the new spring summer
Right, donkeys.
mule D-shirt.
Joe wrote this song about donkeys.
Now, this song's dedicated to our incredible monitors friend, also named Joe Santapia, who always talks about donkeys. So I love you, man. Everyone give it up for Joe.
Thank you, Donkey Man.
Get out of my head! All right, fuck it.
Starting up in just a minute.
Well, I've been to the doctor somewhat recently. I haven't felt safe in my skin. That's no good, Joey. There's an army of told and police in my pain, and it's got me disintegrated. How will it benefit? And from what materials will it be made? I don't know. How long can one spend dying before they completely disappear? Gotta leave my problems at the jet bridge. Heavy luggage. Gotta leave my problems at the jet bridge. Carrying heavy luggage. Relationships always so easy. No matter how much I keep on screaming. Feel now you like to be treated. Leave your problems at the door. Thermals balling up, steaming hot. We should never let it get to this point. No return. Seems as though I've hit a roadblock. Wheels ain't pulling up, keep dragging me down. Got a lot of fuel to burn. I've been drinking on the job. I'm
Hey, everybody. Thanks for popping in. Welcome to the stream. This is the third stream. I'm running back yesterday's flight because I was so upset with myself for how that flight ended up ending, and because of some of the mistakes that were made. So I wanted to get right back into the sim so that I could figure out what was wrong. And luckily I did. I watched the tape. And again, that's exactly what this whole stream is about for me. Recording myself fly and noting what kind of mistakes I'm making so that I can improve and eventually get on VATSIM. So that's why this is a VATSIM accountability stream, because I need some motivation to keep me, some external motivation usually helps the cause for me. So just to kind of show you from last time, I had been keeping these notes about some of the mistakes that I've been making, and this was from flight 1 and then flight 2 yesterday, and luckily I figured out what the mistakes were. I think we'll we'll figure it out today, but I'm almost positive I found them. And they were, again, these some kind of dumb mistakes, fat finger mistakes, with my control setup. I know it's common to blame the sim and not the not the pilot. Now this was definitely pilot error, but it was also a case where I was just like a total accidental thing. So in any case, I have my notes of mistakes that I'm trying to improve. I was able to kind of knock off a lot of these ones from the first stream, and in the second one, so the main two things I had were my autopilot had not activated when I was on takeoff. And I just realized this is one of these like basic things that I should have realized. I had not really trimmed the aircraft down to maintain its altitude, and so I still had a little back yoke input. And when you can't activate the autopilot when you have inputs into the flight controls. So so there was that reason. So I was glad I got to go back, look at the stream, see what was happening, and thankfully, I could see when I hit the button, I noticed I still had back pressure on the yoke from the video, and boom, I need to now make sure I don't have input in when that happens. And then the worst part, the flight was going fairly well, and then right on the end of the approach, when I was getting ready, I switched auto throttle off. And I'll show you kind of in the stream here. So I had switched the auto throttle off just using the auto throttle disengage that's on the on my real life throttle quadrant. This is the Bravo throttle quadrant. But I have these I guess I can, without exposing too much, I think. Or I might break the camera, so might as well. Anyway, I have the Honeycomb Bravo and these aftermarket. I really like them. These sort of 3D printed, life-size Boeing 737 throttles and speed brake and flaps. Anyway, what happens is there's a tiny little button, and on the aircraft itself, you can see this button if I kind of come down over here. Zoom in. So, in this aircraft, this is the toga button takeoff go around. And what happened was when I was pulling back on my IRL ones to sort of set my pitch and power value, right as I was getting ready to dump the autopilot, my finger sort of grazed the button that's actually pretty sensitive on my actual handle here on my Bravo yoke. And so what happens was I sent the plane into toga mode, which is the go around mode, and that's why all of a sudden my flight director like pulled up and I, lost my way and panicked and got mad and landed. So a couple learned things to learn there. Again, from the first time, what I didn't realize is I really needed to just look at my PFD again and look at these call outs that come up at the top, because I would have seen the toga and that would have at least let me know what the heck I did. Again, it was like a total pilot error or just and let's call it hardware error, where my finger slipped. I know, everyone's favorite excuse, right? Oh, my finger slipped and now I screwed everything up. But, anyway, that's on me. That's on me. So I got to see that in the stream and fix that. So I'm happy about that. And that's what, again, this whole process is about, is learning from my mistakes. So like I said, I want to run back this stream now because it was it's my redemption arc. I want to make up for it here. So without further ado, I'll kind of try and work a little quickly. You might hear a dog in the background. My Greyhound Drifter decided to join me this morning. So again, we're running back that same flight from Chicago Rockford International. It's kind of a little satellite cargo hub. As you can see, we're in our prime 737. And what we will be doing is, once again, taking off runway 01 and although once again I noticed in real life they weren't doing 01, but let's do 01. It'll give us a chance to although the wind looks better today. Okay. But yeah, so we'll be taking off instead of runway 19. We'll take off runway 1 to the north and loop back around on our Bixby standard instrument departure. And so we're just going to follow this heading out, and I'll give myself vectors at some point to Bodie. We can fly a little north, take a look over this eastern part of Chicago, which is basically suburbs and corn, but but yeah, so then we'll be continuing on back into Louisville. This time we get to do the 35 left approach. So we'll actually, this flight takes a little longer because we have to come down and pass. And so we'll come down, get radar vector ourselves in for the final landing on 35 left. So that's what we are up to today. Just like yesterday, and like I said, this is the redemption arc. For us. So I'm going to start getting the airplane going. I've already started a few of the basics here. I think our IRS is getting aligned. So let me go ahead and just get the startup going. So I hope everyone's doing okay. I am looking forward to this flight so I can redeem myself. I stayed up late watching lots of sports last night. And I think that gives a good idea for tomorrow, because we can fly from LA to Seattle. I'm going to have a little bit more time to stream again, so go to ground power here. So I'll be able to, maybe we'll do that and we can talk a little more baseball next time. Okay, emergency exit lights on, fasten seat belts on. We can get some of these window heats going. Hydraulics are okay for now. X auto. All right, save that's probably our same flight plan. I'm gonna look at the OFP. Anyway, for anyone who's popping in, thanks again. Again, my name is Nate. Let's see, move exterior. Did nothing. That environment. So my name's Nate. I'm a kind of hobbyist flight simmer. I've really enjoyed this hobby over the last 5-ish years or so. Started just flying during the pandemic in Microsoft Flight Simulator because it helped me feel like I was getting out of the house again. But I ended up really enjoying it, and so started learning a lot. And so I always like to start the stream thanking a couple of people who inspired the stream. First is Blackbox711, who is a really great streamer on YouTube and Twitch, and it turns out to be a really great guy too. But he was a real-world pilot, and I somehow stumbled upon his stream while trying to learn how to fly some of these more complicated aircraft, and yeah, and sort of joined the community there, and made some friends, acquaintances at the very least, internet people, who are fun to talk to. And so yeah, so anyway, he kind of showed all the real world procedures, and I went from flying this aircraft, just landing literally in the backyard of my house or on the street in front of my house, to flying it properly, appropriately, so that it would follow some real world procedures, and it ends up making it really fun. And what this ended up being is that I think flight simulation is something I'm interested in anyway, and this is one of those kind of you can get into it pretty easy because you can just download Microsoft Flight Simulator, pop in Xbox controller, and you're off. And you can have a lot of fun. The visuals are fantastic, and it's fun flying around. Flight is a cool feeling. But this is one of those hobbies that I always consider having a high ceiling because there's so much to learn system depth. These are add-ons that you can get, like this. I should just say I'm in X-Plane today. I'll talk a little bit more about that. It's a different simulator. Kind of the two main simulators are Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and X-Plane 12, and they have some pros and cons, some better for some things than others. But that's neither here nor there. I tend to like X-Plane these days. But yeah, so these add-ons, you can, they're totally replicating, simulating the real-life aircraft. There's failures, and so you really have to set these up correctly to get them to fly without them barking at you and every warning going off possible. So again, and one of these kind of high-ceiling hobbies like this, I ended up also just thinking about another streamer who I watch, who's Marshall Sutcliffe on wristwatch_revival, who has a great YouTube channel, and where he is a hobbyist watchmaker. Again, one of these things I really have no interest in per se, but Marshall was just kind of having people come along on his journey, and he's a really good videographer too. So, but Marshall, in doing those watchmaking videos, always talks about how central it was for him in his improving as a watchmaker to record himself. And when I'm doing these flights, it's almost like if anyone golfs and goes to the driving range, and you don't know what you're doing right or wrong, and so unless you have something to look at, it's the only way you can figure out what you're actually doing. And so I started just recording myself flying on OBS, and looking back on the flights, and I started just seeing all these little things I kept missing, or some things that I could tell, okay, next time I'm doing that, I need to more aggressively trim, or less aggressively trim, or pull back the throttle, because I go too fast on all my landings. Anyway, so you start noticing some patterns. I started writing all that stuff down, and that is that list that I just showed you, at least the one I started putting together in more earnest, was my my little list of things I need to correct. And so then I just decided, hey, I'm going to combine all my favorite hobbies. Flight sim is a top one, and watching streams is my other favorite one. And so this is a little homage to Black Box and to Marshall. To Marshall with the nice, his stream is, both of them have very relaxing, enjoyable streams. Marshall has the real world, he's working on watches, and you can get it's almost like an ASMR stream, and very relaxing, but also very informative. And Black Box's streams can be the same way too. So big shout out to both of those guys. And if you're watching this, then check their channels out for sure. But today, we are going to make up for our ills from yesterday, and hopefully get a nicer landing into Louisville this time. So again, to show you the flight path. We are in, just to recoup everything, we are in XP12. We're flying from Chicago Rockford International to Louisville Mohammed International Airport, which is a UPS hub. So when you actually look at this airport, it is, those are the approaches. I'll talk about what some of these charts mean for anyone who doesn't really know, but Louisville is a cool airport because it's the UPS hub. So you can see, I've actually gone to spot here in Louisville because it's in my basic neck of the woods, and there's some great spots, and gets really busy, though you have to kind of pick your times because a lot of cargo happens in the evening. But you get to see MD-11s, 757s, 747s come in. You get a really cool range of planes to see because they're all just big planes coming into this giant UPS and cargo hub here. So that's where we'll be heading. And I am going to get started today. The other thing I kind of noted from my last stream that I was upset about is I have kind of like, it's one of these things. You should just have one checklist when you're doing this. And I had an older checklist and another one that I was kind of playing with. And it turns out I just needed to get the very basic checklist because the way things were ordered in the checklist, it was too blown out, as it were. And so I wasn't really able to concentrate as much as I wanted to on what was going on the checklist and getting a little caught there. So I've got a new checklist, just the kind of bare bones, basic one. That's from Boeing, and hopefully that will keep us a little better on track. So let's make this happen. So I've already done a couple of the pre-check stuff here, and we're going to jump into setting up the flight computer, and you can kind of follow them along. I've got these. The one thing I really like about this hobby, just like sort of Marshall and his tools, which is the cool part of watchmaking. The thing I like about flight sim is that you've got all these great peripherals and add-ons, and I've got the kind of wing virtual or real life real life play version of the MCP from WinWing, which is a great add-on. I love it a lot. And then the FMC, the flight computer that you can program here. And the reason these are really neat is even though the sim is very immersive and you can kind of come in here and start clicking all kinds of stuff and manipulating these knobs here. The issue is that for me, especially learning, it's a lot to, be concentrating on a runway and then having to take your eyes off and look over here, and it's like texting while driving, whereas when it's out here, I can kind of more automatically start getting a feel for this. And also the reason I started recording this is because I had caught myself doing another really dumb thing on the previous stream. Was, again, I was going to reduce my speed. Here, this is the speed window. I was going to reduce my speed on a landing and ended up just like darting my heading bug like 45 degrees to the left. And that would have been a complete disaster if I would have gotten instructions to go heading, follow runway heading. I would have just turned left and at my fast speed. And so that ended up messing up my landing. And yeah, so I was able to, when I went and watched back the stream, I could see, oh, whoops. I went and reached and I grabbed the wrong knob. And that's why you should all be very happy that I am not a real-world pilot. So that's the other thing. I'm not a real-world pilot. I actually, ironically enough, have absolutely zero interest in flying in real life, except as a passenger. Or, I'd love to one day bother some captain enough to let me. This where are the jump seats in the cargo plane? I guess in the cargo, you could just go sit in the back of the plane. Or in this little compartment here, but then you don't get to see important coffee maker. So I just kind of got into this because I really like Sims, and this is I think just kind of a fun, even though Sim is supposed to just be a not it's not a game. It's a sim. That's one of the cardinal rules of flight simming. But I like it as both a game and a simulator. The graphics are so good these days. The immersion level is, that's the chase cam. But yeah, it's just got such good immersion these days. It looks so real. You can get really good sense of the feel of the aircraft here, especially in X-Plane, which has a really good flight model. And so, yeah, I mean, this is just really just a fun game. It's a fun sim, and so I'm just sort of sharing my little improvement journey. And the whole point of this improvement is to get on VATSIM. I need to just be better about flying the aircraft so I can get on. Basically, there's a big giant, just like I'm simming my flight here, there's a giant global network of air traffic controllers, other aviation nerds, and also experts too. Believe it or not, a lot of real world IRL pilots or IRL controllers who are just it's sort of nice to see that someone who they love their job so much that they do it in their off hours, or at least have interest in this whole aviation simulation community. Which is cool because also, besides all the neat gear you get to buy, you also get to futz around with all your computer settings because you're trying to make your computer run as best as possible. So, preamble aside, let's get going here. I'm going to jump into go over the overhead panel. So I'm going to kind of always repeat myself in these streams. The other reason I do this, I used to be a teacher, and it just turns out that even though I forgot everything I've ever learned in school, I remembered most of the things I've taught. And by teaching, by explaining, by speaking out loud, I just find it as a good, heuristic, so to speak. Just a way to help me learn. It's a self-pedagogical tool, if you will. And by having to explain things out loud, I can more easily catch myself when I'm saying, oh, I need to do something, and what does this do? What does that do? So I know at those spots, and so when I go watch back the stream and I hear myself sound like a dum-dum, I write that down, and I go on Google and look at flight manuals and books and try and figure out what the heck I did wrong. And so it's just kind of a fun thing, and it makes the whole experience a lot more enjoyable. Like I said, one of these hobbies that has a really high ceiling if you put in the effort. So welcome to me putting in the effort here. So the first thing I did before you got here, I set up the weights and the fuel in the plane, and I started some of them the first pass on this. And the overhead panel has a lot of the controls for the systems in the plane. Basically, you can control your fuel pumps, the electrical, things like heating, cooling, hydraulics, and air conditioning, pressure system here. So I've done a lot of this setup here first, and I'm going to go ahead and set up the flight computer now, which is, you can either kind of follow me along on the cam here, kind of see how the wing works. I'm in the, like I said, XP12 with the Zebo mod, and I'll also kind of pull it up here so anyone can see it a little better. Also, I guess it's kind of counterintuitive, but I wanted to, for anyone who is interested, to ask me any questions about the wing stuff and how it works, and I'm happy to talk about just flight sim stuff like that too. So, I don't need any more of that. So, to set up the flight computer, I'm going to open up what's known as our OFP, our operational flight plan, which has all the information about this flight, including the fuels, the altitudes, the weather, all kinds of good stuff, where a real-life pilot would have been studying this in the couple hours before the flight. And you can see lots of information to go through. It's lots of information about all the airports in the area so that I can check the weather and the conditions in case I have engine failure or any problems. I won't go through this all too much because we want to just get going. But you use this OFP. It generates, and there's a program on the internet called SimBrief, which creates some of these for you. and it's a really nice tool. So we'll use the SimBrief OFP to help set up our computer. And yeah, so first things first, we go into the computer here and we make sure we're in the plane we're supposed to be in, 737-800. Even though technically I am in this, my livery is of the Prime cargo. You can see the Zibo doesn't have a freighter variant, so you can still see the windows here. But because I have so much respect for the sim, at least because I have a certain level of respect for the sim, you wouldn't know it from the way I land. But you know, I'm the only person on this flight right now, and so if I do something bad, I won't lose all my virtual souls, who I've come to appreciate. I hope to do some streams later on that feature some of the fun stuff that happens back here. The Zibo and this livery are pretty basic, but if we go back into Microsoft Flight Simulator, there's I love it actually. It's a hilarious program, GSX, that has AI generated passengers, and there's talking, and the people it's just a riot. You can simulate your plane getting loaded in real time with all kinds of people walking through and saying hi, Captain, and with the flight attendants, and it really adds to the immersion. It's pretty fun. So yeah, so I really like that, but I feel bad for all my GSX passengers if I were to crash. So yeah, so one thing I do want to do is now we're going to be going runway 1. So let me nation or my origin runway real quick here. We are just VATSIM. The other thing too, I've never done this streaming stuff before, and so this is just me kind of learning as I go. For instance, if the whole beginning of the stream was muted, it was because the Twitch copyright algorithm is relentless and authoritarian, even though it's music that I am totally allowed to use. And when I uploaded, I'm uploading these to YouTube also, so if you want to go back and watch them, Twitch is going to delete these VODs sooner than later. But on YouTube, I'm keeping them so I can go back and look and laugh. And also, of course, learn. That's the main thing. But hopefully these streams will get better as I go. And I mean, I guess the goal is to either not have to make these anymore because I'm not learning, or if anyone is interested in following me along more, I'm gonna go on more flights as I get better, and we'll jump on VATSIM and I'll do more of the radio communications. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I am rambling as I tend to do and stalling. So let me just make sure I did my normal stuff here. So I did test my oxygen. This is some crucial stuff happens right here in the aircraft. You make sure your oxygen works. You can hear that there. I guess they're into. But coffee, very important. So let's all do our checklist. I know I need a sip of coffee here before we get going. Okay, so I had already done my pre-flight checklist. So I checked the oxygen, some of the instruments, but I hadn't really set up my flight computer yet. So that's what I wanted to do. So let's do that. We'll come down here. I'll show the map, and because you'll see the map and PFD come alive, and then I'll keep my chart down here for you to see. Oops. Alrighty. So we are in a 737-800. We've got everything here on the ident. We're going to do the position in it. This is where we tell the aircraft where it is in space, and that uses this, if I come up here, if you look above, this inertial reference system that we kick on. But now planes these days also use GPS. So we are at Chicago Rockford International. So you can see up here, that's our flight is Kilo Romeo Foxtrot Delta. Chicago Rockford, and like I said, this is one of those other hubs. So we'll go ahead and punch in that information here. Kilo Romeo Foxtrot Delta. So you tell the plane your reference airport. You can see it kind of gives us these crude GPS coordinates. For the IRS, we'll take the GPS left and plug that in for the IRS. So the plane now knows where it is, and I blocked it. I wanted to let you see things come live. I have to become a better videographer when I'm doing this. But you can see the flight displays have come alive. This is the primary flight display. It shows altitude information, speed information, and it will tell you kind of the modes that the plane is in, so that you can make sure you are you know, in the correct modes. This is something I need to work on. It's a big point of emphasis for me, because I tend to kind of not really call out what's happening up here. And I've noticed now in the past at least 2 streams, if I would have just done a quick scan of my of my indicators here, I would have seen my problem and possibly been able to save myself from some level of, if not embarrassment, crashing the aircraft, or at least causing major harm to it, as I did on that last landing, which I guess it wasn't that bad. It was just, well, it was terrible. Let's not say that. But it was, at the very best, illegal, and would have gotten me fired from Amazon Air. So here's my chart. So we'll go into the computer. We've got the IRS set, our reference airport. I'll go to the route page here, and in the scratch pad, it'll copy over our origin airport, Chicago Rockford, and you can use these. Okay, another thing I can improve on. You know, the last stream, I was like, what are these? LISC, you know? All right, so they're the line select keys. And so that was another thing where it was like, okay, stupid little thing. I need to get some of my phraseology down, so I'm not saying, you know, the thing, you know, in the plane, the thing, guys, the thing, the knob, yes, not very helpful. So, so yes, I was using line select key, and so how these work, all the information kind of pops up on these various lines, and you can pick them. Down here is our little scratch pad, so you can kind of plug in anything you type. You can kind of pick up stuff. One of my favorite other YouTube streamers is Captain Obit. The guy is great. He's a 747 captain, and he takes IRL videos of himself doing flights, and he's a funny guy. He's a really warm guy, and flies a 747 for Cathay Pacific, I believe. And one of my favorite things for him is, you know, you pick things up on your finger whenever you press the line select key, and you put it where it's supposed to go. So I always think about that. I'm picking it up. I'm here. So anyway, our destination, we're going to good old Muhammad Ali International in Louisville, and that is Kilo Sierra Delta Foxtrot, and we will punch that into our destination here. I just kind of have a arbitrary flight number here, so I'm gonna just call ourselves Amazon 462 November. The 462 November is just sort of a standard one I've been using. I shouldn't get too used to it because since I am in the process of learning all my communications, if I just kind of bury this number into my head, I won't be able to be as flexible on my, you know, when I'm flying. I might just keep repeating that. Amazon isn't really a, I don't think they have their own call signs anymore, or at least they did maybe at some point. But what they do is there's a bunch of airlines. This is Southern Air that flies around the Midwest. Prime, essentially, tell me if this surprises you. Instead of their own thing, they contract out to other airlines to you know, run all their cargo. And so there's a handful that fly across the states, and they use these 737s And this is one of the few kind of cargo 737s that flies around my neck of the woods. And the other thing, I've kind of fly around the Midwest a lot, but not exclusively. It's just kind of as I'm practicing. There's no mountains around here really, so that helps the cause. So yeah, so I put in the flight plan there, or excuse me, my flight number, and now we can kind of set up some departure and arrival information. Again, that's also on our flight plan. Everything's on the flight plan, if you can believe that. That's why they call it that. So I can go in here and we can see we are doing taking off runway 01 or runway 1 in the United States. I guess they don't say both. Doing this Bixby standard instrument departure. So most airports have a kind of standard routing to get out of the airport. It can be based on a lot of things like the noise or traffic or other things around. But you essentially follow these on the way out, and ATC gives you ATC directions. But in these computers, there's a big database of all the various SIDs and runways and departure routings and all that. So we are taking off runway 01. I'll select that, and it turns out there's only a single departure or standard instrument departure route from Chicago Rockford, and that's this Bixby 1 RNAV departure. So I'll go ahead and set that here. Our transition today, if we look at how this works, is when you go on these arrivals and start coming back around, there's a first major waypoint that you're going to hit. That's that Bixby waypoint. But depending where you're going, if you're going east or west, there would be a transition point that will link you up to the rest of your flight. So it turns out here we're going to be using this Ahmed transition. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Go back to my route. It asks me, do I want to activate that part of the leg? And I'll show you. I say yes. You can see it will sort of start coming in on my map display here. There you can kind of see it start coming in. And once I hit execute, boom, you see the magenta, and that shows you where the flight computer will be pointing you. This one, we were taking off to the north, and you see there's going to be a discontinuity. So if I go on the legs page, we're just going, not a discontinuity at least, but we take vectors straight out, essentially straight north. And then we'll come back around to the first waypoint. We'll give ourselves vectors as if we were with ATC. And that's one thing. I'll be doing kind of like fake phraseology just because I'm practicing that. I feel pretty comfortable with it, but the one thing is I'm flying alone in a plane that's supposed to be with two people. And so that person would be doing the communication. When you're the only one flying, you are also doing the communication down here. And there's lots of, again, switches and knobs. And like I said, these can be kind of cumbersome to use. Imagine a guy who only has less than 100 hours of flight sim and even less an X-plane, having to look down here while he's flying. Bad news. I'll look up and who knows where I'll be. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to. This isn't a big advertisement for Wind Wing. I actually do really like their stuff so far, but I need a little radio panel. So out in the world here, I can just see it and kind of keep one eye at least on the road or on the skies. So that starts the first part of our flight plan here. I can go ahead and kind of finish out. I know for this flight plan, this is a pretty short flight, and I'll typically be doing short flights. This one, we would have gotten, on a longer flight, you could get various waypoints to go, to certain VORs or pass over. It turns out, for anyone who doesn't know much about aviation, airliners, these are almost like you see these kind of lines coming through, and various things on the the map here, are almost like air highways. And so a lot of these routes can take you to a point and say, it's almost like an exit on the interchange. And again, that's something so planes for safety and Most things in this industry tend to be about safety, which is a damn good thing. But in this case, where that transition Ahmed, we're just going direct to the next waypoint, which happens to be the first waypoint when you're heading in from the north here, Sybil. That'll take us into Louisville. So we don't have too much to program in. I can just kind of, if I go to the next page. I didn't put in my arrival yet. So that's what I want to do. KSDF. That's another thing I'm trying to stop doing is, you can kind of read out some of the stars and the waypoints, and they do that on purpose. J Money, memorable, and there's some fantastic star. So star is a standard terminal airport, standard terminal arrival route. Another thing, the other stream, I kind of caught myself on. So what did I do? I realized on the stream, hey dude, you didn't know what that meant at the time. Had a brain fart, so let's write that down and look it up. So the other thing that I'm trying to do is to stop using, normal human English alphabet and use the NATO alphabet. So Kilo Sierra Delta Foxtrot. We're going to be doing ILS today. The runway is 35 left. And once again, the J Money arrival. And as you can see, it also has a transition. Sybil is where we're picking it up. And now on this chart here, the standard arrival ends here at Deeper. And if I were to look on our ILS, our actual landing chart, there's a number of other. So there's bourbon. The Kentucky is known for its wonderful bourbons. That's something I can recommend too. Louisville, by the way, cool place. You can go to Fort Knox and see the gold. That doesn't exist anymore. But you can do the bourbon tour. That's super fun. But downtown Louisville is cool. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of great stuff there, great events, concerts, all that. But the outskirts of Louisville, the little hipster towns, really, really fun, cool stuff to do there. But you can see this also has transitions, so I could get directed, for instance, to some of these transitions. For the purpose of this flight, I'm not going to be selecting a transition. I'm just going to have our final approach fix, where is it there? Cardinal set in here. Although maybe actually for this purposes, I'll do this. Here's the thing. I want to just stay on vectors once we get to Deeper. So I'm just going to, for now, put in the runway with no transition. Hopefully I'll have to check if that's exactly okay. But the one thing I will check now is I can now step through my flight plan. So I'm on this map mode here in my map, and here it says the step. So if I either click it here or on my PFD, this walks me through my flight plan. So it's telling me I'm going to take vectors off to the north before getting vectored around to Bodie. I need to be above 3,000 feet. That's that magenta bit on the right. And soon this whole page will be populated with, once I tell the plane how much it weighs and how much fuel we have, etc. It will calculate speeds and altitudes. So I know I'm going Bodie, Bixby, Ziegel to Ahmed, and then we know we're just going direct to Sybil. So how this works is you just press the line key for Sybil and put it in the route discontinuity there, and it kind of pulls up the whole flight plan. Execute, you can see on the map there, it just turned purple, and now we can go to our next waypoint, which is Sybil, Agile, Kung Fu. Again, I get a kick out of these waypoint names. One of these little things I get a lot of pleasure out of. When you're flying into New York, there's lots of Mets and Yankees legends. So there's the first big waypoint is Jeter. And there's a Keith Hernandez one, I'm pretty sure too. So shout out Keith Hernandez. I despise Keith Hernandez. Cher, Super, Good Day. I like that one. Lisa, the where am I at now? Level center. Okay, I'm on super. Good day, Lisa. The like my center keeps hearing. Part of it could be also there is a lag sometimes between the WinWing computer and the computer in the game. There it sort of starts going. Curious if that center should still be there. Anyway, J Money, to Mace, to Elena, to JT, to Die Hard, memorably Die Hard 2, I believe occurs here. And then, okay, so Deeper just does have the vectors going straight out. So we'll just end up kind of coming out. And if we look on the approach chart, we'll follow that down. And Nox is the first. We'll get down to 3,000 and kind of follow that to our first approach fix. Where what this kind of approach is that we'll be coming around. And there's basically a beam that shoots out, an ILS beam. And it will, we can, as we come around, we intercept that course. You might be hearing squeaky toys and such in the background. That's my dog, so I apologize for her rude behavior, but she is my co-pilot today. Very useless in that regard, but she is cute. But in any case, what you do is you kind of come and it grabs you and helps you navigate down to the final, to your landing runway. But yeah, so I'm just sort of right now looking through everything. Use these switches up here to zoom in and out, and so I can see this looks about right to me. And be just sort of staying on course once we hit deeper, and we'll pretend to get radar vectors to come and intercept the ILS here later. So there's a bunch of the flight computer set up. I'm happy with how the routing looks. So now I'm going to go to the initialization. This is where you tell the aircraft what it is, what it's supposed to be doing, or how much it weighs and things like that. So luckily I'm using the Zibo mod, and what's nice is I can look at my OFP to get a lot of the weights. It turns out the SimBrief OFP can be a little different from what the aircraft thinks it is, so you can kind of set stuff up in this tablet here. So what I will do is just use what the Zibo mod is, but I can kind of check the information against my OFP also. So our zero fuel weight, 132,000 pounds. That is it's exactly what it sounds like. The weight of the aircraft with not counting the fuel, because you do obviously very much care about fuel quantity when you're flying, because well, you can't just pull over when you run out of gas. You need to make sure you get there. So we're going to come down here and look and see what our reserve fuel is. This is another thing. I'm making a note to myself in the stream that I want to look up again. It looked like my PFD kept saying I was dipping into my reserve fuel, and I don't think I most likely was, but maybe I was just setting my my reserve too much. So incorrectly. So that you don't want to do, but so our final reserve plus the alternate is 5,000 pounds, so about 2.5 tons. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in 5.0 into our reserves. Cost index, you can think about that as like the an adjustment, like a factor for fuel prices. The higher it is, the more aggressively the plane will fly. So we have a cost index of 38, which is sort of I don't know, and pretty fairly standard at this moment. One thing I'm gonna check to see, I might bump up the cost index just because we're required to be at a certain speed when we're coming into Louisville, and if the cost index is low, what happens is you just don't get that fast, and I'd rather get that instead of having the plane sort of slow down and speed up. So our altitude, it tells you that here on the flight plan we're going to go up to flight level 370, but you can also come down here and look at this shows you at every waypoint, and here's our top of climb at 370. So we will be going up to flight level 370. Our cruise winds are. So this is the average wind component up at altitude, and we'll also be requesting. This doesn't have the 737 doesn't have takeoff winds, but you can also hook up with a computer that'll pull in or weather information for your descent at least. So let's go 297 out of. And so how this works too, I think of like a compass with the degrees, and the 297 is coming kind of out of the west, northwest, and that's the first number. It's the wind is sort of coming from there, and blowing 45 knots. So we'll be getting a little bit of tailwind on this flight. So at 45 degrees here, and the outside air temperature today, or the top of climb outside air temperature down here is minus. Yeah, see, that's the why I have to. So pardon me for a moment. So if it says our outside meet, this I'm gonna have to look this up again. I'm not gonna try and so if it's the top of climb outside air temperature, I have to look at my charts, but again, something that this is in C, but now I'm not so sure here. So I'm gonna have to look that up. This will help. It kind of helps the computer plan itself out a little better. I guess technically doesn't need to be put in because it'll let me keep going. But okay, something I'm gonna have to look up. The other thing we'll do is a quick performance calculation. The issue in the Zebo mod is it doesn't have a working takeoff calculator. It has a landing calculator, but essentially we just need to look at our flight plan again, and it tells us, luckily with SimBrief, it gives us a runway analysis that we can then use to fill out the information here. So one thing I'll do is select the select temperature, which is, even though it's, and I think it is actually 14 degrees outside here. Yep. 57 degrees Fahrenheit, chilly. And it's overcast. And we'll look at the weather. That's a big deal. Yeah, so the select temperature in these aircraft refers to, you can essentially tell the engines to assume a temperature that will help it perform better or more efficiently. So I will be putting that select temp in, which is MT44. So it wants negative. I don't know what that would do. All right, so there it is. On the flight plan, it says here we're going to do a DTO, so derated takeoff 1. Essentially, if you notice, if I do takeoff, the engines would spool up into 93%, or takeoff 2, you see they come down to under 90%, and we're going to be doing, the aircraft wants to do a climb 2, which is good. So we'll be doing a nice leisurely takeoff today instead of going full toga, full gas. So go to the takeoff now. In these Boeing 737, typically a flap 5 takeoff. I can talk about flaps at some point. Center of gravity 18.1%. We'll just pull it from the Zebo. And so I'll check sim brief against the Zebo mod speeds, and they all look pretty good. I'll take the Zebo mod speeds. And what this is, V1 is basically the speed at which, as I'm on my takeoff roll, once I hit 140 knots, I either have to decide to brake or take off, because if I keep going any further or farther than that, then I won't have enough time to stop. VR is the speed that I actually pull back the yoke and start taking off. And this is another thing I wanted to figure out how to explain V2 better, but it's kind of the lowest speed I believe you can take off on one engine, but don't take me, or at least that you can fly on one engine, but don't take my word at that one. Don't take my word for absolutely anything I say here. This is mostly me talking to myself so that I can figure out what I know and don't know. So that basically does it for our computer setup. And now I just want to transfer some of this stuff in the flight computer to our MCP here. And I will do that now. I can kind of show it to you here. But what we're doing is setting all this up. So I'm going to go look at our charts here. We will be taking off runway 1. And you can see here that the course is 008. And so again, this is like just imagine a compass, and that's how these headings work. North is 0 or 360, 90 points to the east, 180 to the south, and 270 to the 270 to the west. I mean, and so yeah, so we'll set the course. It's 008. I love all the clicky stuff. I wish one thing in these aircraft eventually, I wish they would just have an option for button to the knobs, a sound slider. I use, in this tool, I can change the interior and exterior volumes of the sounds. But I want like buttons and switches, because that's one of my favorite things. Is just it sounds really fun and nice. And one thing about these streams is I do tend to have fun in these, and I do this because I like the sounds. I like kind of these big, it's fun. Boys with toys, nothing to be ashamed of, for at least for my generation, or at least we're trying to change the narrative there. I'll set the V2 speed here, which is 146. Basically, you set that speed because, like I said, just in case you want, if you go into the speed mode and have to level out, you want to be at correct speeds. Our heading, we're also, if we wanted to look at the departure, the Bixby 1 departure, there's instructions about how the heck you do this. And so it says, you're going to be taking off 01 from the 008 heading. But if we come down here, it tells you climb on heading 00 or 08, as assigned by ATC, go up to 3,000. And so that's what we will do today. And we'll kind of hold up at 3,000 before we make this turn. Though I guess we have a 370 there, or 3,700 MSA. So we'll just kind of stay close and come up. I might just go to 5,000. So yeah, so there is that. And there's another thing I want to kind of think about a little more. The best way to think about what my altitudes should be within this approach reference point. So so we know that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to stay on that also, set my runway heading, and we'll just kind of fly out. And once we get to 3,000 feet, we'll start initiating a turn back to our first waypoint. So we'll set that top altitude too. Let's call it 3,000. And okay, everything is set. There, we'll turn the flight directors on. No LNAV and VNAV for this takeoff. As the aircraft takes off, it'll automatically go into heading select mode. And so when we engage the autopilot, it will keep our heading that way. And then once I plug in and kind of close up the course, I'll go into LNAV and VNAV. And this is a lateral navigation mode and a vertical navigation mode, which keep the aircraft on these magenta flight paths. or flight plans. So I'm gonna go back to my map mode here. Okay, so we've got this is all set up. I'll wait to do my auto throttle on my lineup. And so right now, one thing we would do is, again, one of these things that I'm sort of practicing is what I would do to be calling in to ATC. I'm not going to mess around with the actual radio panel today. Again, just because partially I'm just trying to make up for that crap landing yesterday, so I just want to redeem myself there. I don't want to add another layer of complication in here. But what I will do is do some other stuff, like practice just some of the phraseology. So one thing I would do is call into the clearance, the delivery, the air traffic control, and ask them for permission to fly out of here and go to my destination. So in this case, I would kind of have my charts ready to heed any instructions they give me. And you can see up at the on these, I could dial in the Rockford clearance 119.25, 119.25. And give them a shout. So, the one thing you do, you'd kind of call into them and say something like, hey, Rockford clearance, this is Amazon 462 November with information. I don't think I have any HS information in real life. But anyway, this comes with usually you get a little, the information to tell you that make sure you're current or not. So I'd say information, hotel, whatever it is now. Requesting IFR clearance to Louisville International, Mohammed, Kilo Sierra Delta Foxtrot. And then they would give me a call back and say something. So that the information they'd be giving me, they'd say, okay, Amazon 462 November, cleared to your destination, expect runway 1. You on the Bixby 1 RNAV departure, climb and maintain, they might say maintain runway heading, climb and maintain 3,000 feet, squawk code. So the squawk code is this over here where they tell you this is how you would identify yourself and how they can see you on their scopes. So they would say, squawk 2010, and then they'd give me the QNH. They'd say, which is the barometric pressure. This is how, if you notice right now, I'm on standard barometric pressure, but in real life, if you know kind of how altitude works, it depends on how heavy the column of air is here. So there's a local QNH that you'd want to dial in, and that's kind of part of what they'd be instructing you and say, QNH, and you can check that here. You get this METAR, it's this little coded thing here, but SimBrief, or Navigraph, I should say, gives it decoded. So it's 30.36 inches of mercury. So this knob here sets that, and if you watch down on the primary flight display here, and watch the altitude as I go to that 30 point. I think it was 34. So I think that's pretty high. Since we had the runway running, that's actually our runway height, and so boom, there we know we're going to be taking off the right place. So so that's kind of one of the call-ins that I would do, and then I'd have to read that back to make sure it's correct. So I would say something like, okay, cleared to Louisville, expecting runway 1, flying runway heading, flying and climbing, maintaining 3,000 feet, awaiting further instructions, squawk 2010, and QNH is 30.34, Amazon 462 November. And they'd say read back correct or not, and I'm doing this very casual, but I'll go listen to that again so that again, I'm just sort of giving examples of what that would be like. So anyway, I think we're ready to do kind of some of our first checklists here. So I'll do the quick pre-flight checklist. We checked our oxygen, instruments, and display switches are set to norm. Window heat. I think I already kicked it on. Yeah, window heat is on. Everything else looks good here. Flight instruments are set. Parking brake is set. Yes. And engine start levers are in the cutoff position. So we will get ready to do our force start stuff. And so to get ready for that, let's do a couple things. I'm going to come up here and, I got the yaw damper on. I'm going to throw on at least our front forward fuel switch, because what I'm going to be doing is firing up the APU. And so the APU is the auxiliary power unit. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that on here, and we can go do an outside view. So you can get a kind of look at, actually I'll just go chase cam. So the APU is back here. We get to look up the ass of 737. So in the back of the plane, there's basically like a smaller auxiliary power unit engine here. And as you can see, there's the exhaust gas coming out of the aircraft. You can hear. So yeah, I mean, I love all these little sounds in the game. One thing I should do on the stream side of things is make sure I can somehow dial these in. I know my last stream I had messed with the settings, and either I was mumbling because I was talking off mic too much, but I reset the settings now, so I'm pretty sure my voice is fairly loud compared to the sim. But anyway, there's the APU firing up, and what that's doing is, a number of things. It can provide, like I said, or not like I said, but it provides pressurized air to the aircraft and auxiliary power. So up here I can see the APU has come up. The EGT is exhaust gas temperature, so that kind of shoots up hot and then cools back down, just like, your exhaust. So I'm going to go ahead and flip our APU on. So if you're ever in a plane, you hear those like crunch sounds. That's your captain switching between, the electrical systems, especially like, when you land as you're racing to take your seatbelt off. That's them. So probe heater, okay. Now what I'm going to do also is turn our APU bleeds on. You can see the duct pressure kind of kicks up. If you listen, you hear air conditioner. How exciting. The APU is now kind of using pressurized air to supply the air conditioning. And that's what this kind of bleed system is. The other thing going on is on the engines, the APU will help sort of start the engines spinning and help them get set up. So, okay, everything, that looks good, We got the APU on. I should turn the collision light on so that people around us know. I'll put the position light on to steady. We don't need any of the other lights for today. This is all looking pretty good. Let's get hydraulics. I'm going to turn the the fuel pumps on. And I will go ahead now and disconnect the GPU. I have our parking brakes set. So I'm going to go ahead and also get rid of our chocks. And just kind of doing a quick little scan here, make sure the other thing I want to do, I like putting my co-pilot page to the legs page. And I tend to kind of like this little center camera. It helps me kind of keep my situational awareness a little better, because I can see kind of the path, especially if I'm kind of doing some turns. So I feel like, the thing I always forget, because I'm flying alone here, I should close the door. So pretend there's lots of cargo back there that we don't want to come and get us mid-flight. So let's lock everyone out, deny. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the next part of the checklist, the before start checklist. So I guess we didn't really do a taxi briefing though. I mean, we kind of did a half-acid one. Let's do a full acid one. Full-assed one. So here we are, parked on the west cargo apron. And what we'll do is just take a right, take this Foxtrot 1, Foxtrot, and here's a hot spot where we'd have landing aircraft. Oh wait, we're not going up to 17. So what I'll actually do is just kind of, I'll probably just cross right here. Yeah. I'll take Foxtrot 1 Golf to Bravo. We'll take Bravo. And we got a long taxi, and we'll go full length and hold short at runway 1. So that's our little no hotspots that we're going through. You would kind of brief a couple more things, but we'll say that I did all that. So, and we don't have to do pushback with this either because we can just pull straight out here. One thing we can do, I'm gonna go ahead and refresh the weather that we can look at here. So we have wind out of 047 knots, so we'll be getting, so as you see, we're taking off 00, sorry, I heard some commotion outside. Taking off here, we'll be getting some wind, a little bit of crosswind from the right here. Only 7 knots, not too bad, but I'll sort of have to control myself a little bit for that. But we got some clouds that were a little overcast, but nothing too bad here. So, yeah, so I think I feel good about everything here. Let's go ahead and do a before start checklist. So the flight deck door is closed and locks. Fuel is checked. We have our 13,000 pounds. So about, what is that? 6.5 tons. Windows are locked and closed. MCP is set. We have our V1 speeds. Or our V2, of course, heading first altitude. Our CDU pre-flight, that was all this, is complete. Rudder aileron trim is 0, 0. I can show you the yoke too here, and if we were going to the checklist, we could arguably kind of like come down here. But this is very early before takeoff stuff. So, taxi takeoff briefing. Let's say we did that. We did do our takeoff briefing earlier, and our anti-collision lights are on. So that is the before start checklist. And now we're gonna get this puppy going. So to start these aircraft, we will go up here on the overhead panel. That we have everything set, and the way you do this is you turn the packs off. That's, you know, when you're in the plane and the air conditioner shuts off right before you're about to take off or push back. That's what you hear there. So so you turn the packs off so that it builds up a certain amount of pressure that you go to your engine start knob here and set that to ground, and you'll see the kind of pressure rising here. And what that's doing is, if we look down on our engine status, and you can hear everything starting to come alive. So this is the N2 in a turbine engine. There's a couple, like multiple stages of the turbine, the air being pressurized. And so the N1 is the kind of first stage there. About 23%, you come and introduce fuel and let science take over. So you'll see the exhaust gas temperature rise because heat is happening and pressure, and engines are starting. So the N1 is again that, like, the next stage of pressure in the turbine, and this is the percentage of it, and you monitor this. We heard that click. That was the knob going back to the off position. We have a good engine start up there. I'm gonna come back up here, start engine 1. So again, put it to ground. I'll probably just the fuel bit here. You can see it slowly start coming to life. 19%, 21, 22, and 23. Here comes the fuel. Let's go back out there. In these sims, some aircraft have really fantastic sounds, some less so. I think the Zebo is okay. I kind of like the exaggerated ones more than the real life ones, because, you know, again, I'm doing this for fun. I want to hear the full-throated engine sounds happening. So, okay, so we have good engine start. I'm going to do some of my other stuff here. Since we don't have to worry about or any more pushback, I'm going to go ahead and set my trim, which was 6. So if you look down here, this is the trim wheel. Set that to 6, and essentially you get a trim based on your center of gravity. I don't think I need to explain trim, mainly because it's just too much, and we've been chatting a little too much here. Go ahead and turn the go to the system page. So I set my trim. I'm gonna go ahead and set my flaps to flaps 5, and do some of my after start flows. So that was, I started those. I'm gonna come up back to the overhead panel. We don't need to be on the APU anymore because the engines are running, so we can get our power from there. I'm gonna go ahead and flip on over to our main power. So I can flip that. You can see we're getting our voltages and stuff from the generator. Battery bus. Go through. Fast seatbelts. Everything looking good. We've got to now put our packs to auto and the isolation valve to auto. Get the APU bleed off. We already did our pressurization. Set our flight switches to continuous. This is the mode so that if anything happens on takeoff, essentially the engines will try and reignite in case of problems. So we'll turn our APU off, and I'll go taxi lights on and our runway lights on. Lots of aircraft stuff seems to be based around lights. So yeah. So we got that. I think that feels good. Let's do our before. I might do some stuff down here. I'll go ahead and okay, we are on standby. I'm not used to this. Okay, the Zebo. Okay, this is cool. And the other mod I couldn't. Oh no, I can't. I can go to them, but I can't activate. Anyway, there's the sound panels, radio panels, and volumes and such. So I'm not messing around with the pedestal much because I'll only be setting some kind of navigational aids here, but I'm not doing much with the communications. But if I were at this point, you know, the tower or the departure, the clearance would have told me, hey, call ground when you're ready, or talk to them and they'd tell you. But I would say, okay, Amazon 462 November, ready for taxi. And they would tell me something like, okay, hold short, runway 1 via Foxtrot 1. You know, let's say they tell us already, although they mostly say, you know, maybe runway 7 not in use. So cross runway 7 at Golf, Bravo, and hold short. And so I would say, okay, take Foxtrot 1, Golf, Bravo, hold short, runway 1, and Amazon 462 November. And that would be that. Something like that. So, we are ready to rock. We did our before taxi checklist. We got our taxi instructions. So let's get going here. So I will turn off the parking brakes. Here we are. Let me go to the chase cam just so you can see. So here, we're just going to kind of come out here and continue on to Foxtrot 1. That's where you can see kind of what was going on in the charts. So, here we go. See this, we're rolling a little bit. So one thing I do need to work on also is I am a terrible airplane driver on the ground. very fast and sloppy and never on the center line. But here we go. So you're supposed to only go at max about 30 knots on the ground. It's a lot safer at lower ones. So let's take golf here. We would check this. Technically, if you're going through a runway, you would turn, get the strobes. Looks fine. You would turn your landing lights on and your strobe lights on so anyone can see. Alright, so we did that. Go ahead. We'll keep our logo light on. So people can so yeah, you see how bad I am at taxi. Although doing it from the outside with the reverse views doesn't help my cause much either. So okay, we're on golf. That's the black part of the sign here. Here comes Bravo. We can kind of check, make sure. Going fast there. I should come down to about like 15. knots. Okay, and now we've got, here you maybe feel the need for speed on this straightaway, but let's just keep it nice and easy here. I can kind of make sure this, and then see if we got put up some. But there you can see the flaps are extended, and that creates extra drag and lift for the aircraft. And as you get faster and faster, you need less of that, so we bring the flaps in. So yeah, so there we can get a wing view. There's just a front view. Kind of a neat side view. How about that? What else we got here? I like that one. Alrighty. So we might get switched over to the tower at this point. They'd say, hey, Amazon 462 November, contact tower at, whatever, 19.75. Okay, tower 1975, thanks, have a good day, Amazon 462 November. Boop, boop. I would then switch over down here, whatever that is, and I'd say, hey, tower, this is Amazon 462 November, approaching runway 1, and holding short, on Bravo, holding short. And they might just say something now like, hey, Amazon 462 November, go ahead, line up and wait, runway 1. So I'd say, okay, line up and wait, runway 1. And then I'd get all my other lights on here, so get the strobes back on. There we go, got the right runway. Check our approach sector, no one coming. And I will now line up and do some of our last stuff. Ugly here. Alright, so we're going to be flying out. Okay, let's come to a stop. At our parking brake, we're technically waiting for our clearance here. Oh, and geez, bad boy. Damn. There's this funny voice mod that if you do this checklist and you miss something, it says, damn. Anyway, you can see here on this screen, it was my flight controls. So to make sure, this actually has some practicality in the sim settings so that I can actually know that all my stuff is plugged in. I'm going to check rudder, full left, full right. The reason my head kind of moves like that is because I've got this head shake app on. That's pretty fun. But yeah, so, and if you remember from before our wins, the one thing we would get here from towers when, they give us our clearance to go, they tell us, okay, winds are coming at, the last time I checked, let me check the latest winds again. Yeah, still coming 04 at 7 knots. So if you look on the map here, here's our degrees, 30. So we'll be getting a little bit of wind coming up here. So other things I would do here is I turn TCAS on. I'd get our weather radar going, which I don't know if I actually have it set up properly in X-Plane. On my co-pilot side, I'll give the terrain mode set up. And yeah, I'm gonna try and test this out a little bit, but I think ultimately I just have it screwed up or I haven't updated my Zebo mod. Maybe it's tough to say. Anyway, the other thing I'll do here is come up here and arm my auto throttle, whatever it's called in the Boeing. I don't know. So yeah, so we'll be taking off. I'll need to concentrate a little bit, but essentially we'll just be taking off, following our runway heading, climbing up to 3,000 feet. At 1,000 feet is when actually, let me set this to 1,500. It's more common. I'm pretty sure that's what it is here. But in any case, at around 1,500 feet, 1,500 feet, the aircraft will start to pitch down, and that's when it starts accelerating. And I would start my flaps retraction. But you need to kind of watch out for these things. So, okay, so we're ready to rock here. I can do that. Where is my new checklist? My old one. All right, so we have our before takeoffs. Flaps are set. Green light. And stabilizer trim is set. So we are good to go. So yeah, this other checklist I have is, I guess, a blown out checklist that has more things for me to report before takeoff, but I'm pretty sure the standard new checklist I have should be okay. All right, so we are all good to get this thing going. Get rid of the sys page, do a quick config test. Oop. Oh, my parking brakes are on, so okay. So I'm gonna take off, fly runway heading, climb, and do all my stuff. And you'll hear some call outs from my co-pilot. But how this works is I will spool up the engines to about 40% N1. Hear them coming. And then you press the toga button, and there we go, N1 toga. And that's a takeoff go around. It sets a basically it sets you full throttle if I were to take my eyes off the road there. Which again, I should not be doing. So we'll be getting a little wind, but it's pretty minor.
80 knots.
So there's 80 knots, check. We have thrust hold.
E1, rotate.
Alright, rotate. So we're gently pulling back on the stick, getting a positive rate.
Positive rate.
Alright, so gear come up. Trim the aircraft a bit here. And like I said, just following the flight director out on that 008 heading, more or less.
400.
400, check. You can see the heading select mode just came on. So I'm going to pitch down because we're in our acceleration altitude. Oh, and bad boy, bug up. So I bug up to our maneuverability speed, maneuvering speed, and let's go flaps one. So again, just climbing here.
1,000 to go.
1,000 to go. I'm gonna go ahead and put the autopilot on. So we're MCP speed. I'm gonna speed up as well. But code 0 flaps. And you can typically speed up to about 250 under 10,000 feet. There's 250, and there we go. Flaps are coming down. So what I'll do now is let's just see if we the MCP speed, heading select, alt acquired, and this should shift into alt hold mode. We'll see come on here on the PDF. It tells us. So now we're basically just going to be flying heading 008 at 250 knots. You can see us speeding up there and just going up to that 3,000 feet. So what we can do now is go into our legs page. There's a delay here. You'll see. I hit legs. There it goes. But Bodie was our first point, and let's say tell us that we're going into the departure. Oh, one thing I just want to see if you have any. So we're like very cloudy here. But let's say we got all right. Head direct to Bodie. We took direct to Bodie. Go there, and then I'm going to activate LNAV and VNAV mode. And let's say they say, okay, climb like 10,000. So N1 LNAV VNAV speed. Now you hear we are accelerating again. And making our turn back toward Bodie. Alright, well that's a nice view. Here we are. Yeah, I love the sounds. So, I'll do a little of the, instead of not navel gazing, instead of enjoying the views. For now, I'm going to get rid of, well, I can keep that up. I don't really need to look down there too much. I'll do a little of the after takeoff cleanup stuff. So I will, what will I do? Okay, I had already did one. I turned our RTO, rejected takeoff. I'll set the brake or the landing gear to off. At around 10,000 feet is when we would do some more overhead flows, but I'm also set engine start switches to off. So our lights are all good here. Okay. So we are well on our way. I'll let us level off at 10,000 feet just so we can kind of take a look around. But yeah, so I could do a after takeoff checklist here. So engine bleeds are on. I can't see this. Engine bleeds are on. Packs are on. Auto. I didn't turn them off for the takeoff, so we're all good. Landing gear is up and off. And
1,000 to go.
All right, 1,000 to go. Here for the sake of our cargo, I can go into the vertical. Back into LNAV. But yeah, landing gear up and off, flaps are up, no lights, so we are all good. So we're gonna come here, level off at 10,000. I can do some quick, it depends on the aircraft or the company and such. But now I do some, 10,000 feet flows. Could be turning off your lights. Yeah. So that's all looking gravy. Let's go ahead and climb to our. So here I'm pressing the altitude intervention button, which once the aircraft levels off, you can press altitude intervention, and when you're in VNAV mode, it'll then climb to the next altitude you have dialed in. So what was it? 370, flight level 370. So I'll go ahead and punch that in. Our next milestone we're looking for is 18,000 feet. That's in the United States, the transition level, which is the point at which we go back to, we're going to do what's known as setting standard, where we go back to a standard barometric pressure. So still we're on local, 30.34, but when you go to standard, you go back to 29.92. Did I get that right? Well, I'll find out next time I do the stream. But if we look back at our flight computer here, you can see since we had started punching in more information, the aircraft knows where it is, where it's going, how heavy it is, how powerful it should be. We get these speeds, and so what the vertical VNAV and LNAV together are maintaining our altitudes and our speeds, and so you basically monitor that kind of stuff as you're flying. So, and you can hear kind of funny in the back.
Serving a variety of complimentary drinks as well as select beer and wine. In addition, there are other alcoholic beverages for purchase. And we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy our service on tonight's flight. If there's anything we can do to make it
All right, so
enjoyable,
any of you
please don't hesitate to
who
call upon us.
want your, it
Thank
said
you.
complimentary. How nice. So order your drinks. All right, so it's getting a little prettier up here at altitude, or as we climb, I should say. We're not at altitude yet. All right, so we have that thick cloud layer down there. But just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on now, I can pull out the charts, always fun. But you can see we had just, exited Rockford to the north, and we did our loop back direct Bodie. And then now we'll just go ahead and keep following this path. If we wanted to cut off, we could go straight to Ahmed. But let's just follow the course to enjoy some views over this part of Illinois. Which, like I said, there's not much out here in this part of Illinois. Do we have a interesting like a Google map? There's our navigation layer buildings. All right, I mean, I guess this is somewhat of it. So Rockford is pretty way out there. Here's where all the fun stuff happens in Chicago. I love Chicago. Really, really cool town. Here's Chicago Midway. Here's where you fly into O'Hare, and some of the suburbs out this direction. And we're way out there now. Buildings. What else we got here? Okay, so this is sort of the map overlays. I don't know, that's our... just playing with some of the sim brief stuff. So yeah, we're flying over sort of western Illinois. And like I said, not much is going to be going on out here if we... I've been yapping. So now I'm going to go ahead and set standard. As you can see, it was high pressure there, so that took like 1,000 feet off. Imagine if that were wrong. You'd be in trouble, given that about 1,000 feet is, or 1,000. Well, I shouldn't say. There's certain minimums for safe distances between aircraft, and if it's that far off, that would have been bad news. But yeah, not much going on out here. I'm sure this is some sort of generic American strip mall town of some kind. But out here is corn, and more corn, sometimes soy. So X-Plane, the graphics are not as nice as in Microsoft 2020 or 2024, but still getting better. I mean, it's still, I think the one thing, the atmosphere looks a lot nicer. There you can see the beautiful, flat, corn-filled American Midwest, right? The corn basket. I don't know if I've been out this part of this west in Illinois. So let's I don't think there's too much to see and do there. So once we get up to our flight level, I'm gonna take a quick little break. Just to my dog is begging me for things, so I'm gonna attend to that. But everything looks good at this point. We are sort of, as they say, we are on autopilot. I'll be once we hit the top of the climb, I will be doing some of our more descent planning. But right now, everything's looking really nice in the flight, and we can just enjoy for a moment as we're climbing. So this will being a little bad, I guess, because I'm going to be walking away before we kind of hit points where I'd have to be doing some call outs. But otherwise, I will be right back. So enjoy a wing view while I'm gone. Okay, I am back, and yeah, still climbing. So this is the nice part where we get to sit back and relax for a little while. One thing I like to do is at least draw in a, and I just kind of know from this route that and I can actually check our top of descent point too by looking on the progress page. We're still on the climb, so we have about 72 nautical miles till we'll reach the top of the climb. And I can show you that if I zoom out on my nav map a bit here. Zoom out and then zoom in. You can see here as we make this kind of right turn. Ooh, I've been being very, very bad boy. I was not thinking about my heading knob at all. In these Boeing aircraft, you have to... Now that doesn't immediately pose problems, but if I would have gotten some sort of instruction, my heading knob, if you notice, was pointing to the north, and we are flying to the south. So yeah, bad news there. If I would have got some instructions and gone into heading mode, or it would have delayed me being able to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, in these Boeing aircraft, you have to manually set the heading bug as you go. So what was I saying? So yeah, so we'll come to the top of climb, and then it's pretty short. The top of descent point here is basically on that share waypoint. So one thing I do like to do now, I will get rid of our just so we can see a little better some of the instrumentations. The one thing I like to do is I'll go into the legs page and grab a waypoint. Like I said, you can pick it up. It copies it into the scratch pad right here. And when that happens, I can go now into my fix page, and I put that in there. And if you see on the map at share, it kind of highlighted it in this little green circle. But you can draw all kinds of neat stuff from there. So if, for instance, I wanted to know a certain radial, the radial is like, how do you explain a radial? It's like a line, I mean, that's what it would draw, a line on that intercepts this at a certain radial. These are all the radials. I guess that's something I should think about, how to explain that stuff. But in any case, the reason I'm showing you this is the share. I like to draw like a 40 mile an hour ring. 40 mile an hour. I keep doing that. 40 nautical mile ring around it, and you just saw it kind of punch in there. That's when I like to start thinking about doing my descent planning. So we've got a little bit of ways to go till there, but we are making our progress, and see we're on our way to Civil there. On this side, I'm going to go back to our map mode. And first officer, we'll let them have the zoomed out view. Alright, so we are getting there. One thing kind of, yesterday there was a lot more turbulence, and that was kind of cool because I had just done this Headshake app installation, and yeah, look at our grid of corn, and that yeah, that was kind of cool because I tend to try and fly in nice weather because I need to. I'm not the best in bad weather. However, that was some of the better turbulence that I got with this Headshake app, and I'm using X camera for all of my views. I like it a lot more than the default one. Turn some of the exterior views down for us. So yeah, so yeah, it makes me sad seeing this in a way. Look at our great grid that we've imposed upon the landscape. Again, this is, you know, what happens when you don't have any topography to deal with. But in any case, yeah, but the Headshake app is kind of cool, and in X camera you can kind of cycle through these views, and I like this smooth transition cam that it does. And so this one is kind of cool for some engine views. So yeah, X camera, that's the Headshake plugin, and I really like that. So one thing I do want to check too, because I realize I don't want to miss the BD stream that's coming up. I'd much rather watch. I mean, I guess I don't have to finish before, but so we will be getting there at 16:55 Zulu, and I think the stream starts at 1700, so I can. I'll still be able to make it. Good. So while we're just kind of cruising along here, we have now we have reached. Are we getting? Okay, LNAV, VNAV path, I would think. Right, I don't know if I'm just crazy, but I thought at least when we hit the in VNAV, even you still get Alp hold. No, I guess not. All right, good. I like when this happens because I have to then think about again the limits of what I know, and there is something trying to think about what I'm supposed to be seeing up here, but I think we're okay. Not good for a pilot to think he's okay, but that's why this is in a simulator. Oh, I would say the other thing that I learned from the last stream that I'm going to keep in mind is I was so pissed at myself for that landing, and not the landing, just because again, when I was coming in, everything was feeling good. My speed was good. I was stable, and then my finger slipped. Of course, the excuse, my finger slipped, and then I just didn't realize that I had gone into toggle mode, which is to go around, and I should have gone around anyway, and slammed the throttles forward, but I was mad at myself, and I kind of just landed and taxied off the runway and mumbled and got upset. But pilots always have to keep their cool, so that's I guess something I should try and add to my learn list, is to stay cool under pressure, and not panic like I did. So I'll work on that also. So we're moving along at a pretty nice clip here, and we're getting close to that 40 mile ring. I don't know why I keep saying that. And just quickly, you can see kind of where we are, getting there to Louisville. The other thing I always like to talk about is the whole reason I'm doing this is to get on VATSIM, which is look how cool this would have been today if I were confident enough in flying the aircraft. We would have had coverage for at least Chicago. Well, we wouldn't have flown through Chicago approach, but I guess, what is this, Chicago Center? That would have been cool as we were flying out of Chicago Rockford, and instead of going to Unicom, we could have dialed in, and it turns out we would be talking to Austin Jenkins. So I guess it was pseudonym here. Or no, that was Leroy Jenkins. Excuse me. I'm getting my memes confused. So, so Austin, sorry about that. I'm a level C3 controller. This person would have been available. They would have given me my further directions, and I'd actually probably be talking to them in a second here. They'd be saying something like, hey, 462 November, I'm leaving your airspace, so dial into, in this case, Unicom, because there's no coverage here. But we would have had coverage for this first little bit. But on VATSIM, these are also other people like me just logged into the system, and they are, so here's someone going from Chicago O'Hare to Las Vegas, so having a fun week there. Here's someone, I don't know where they're coming from. We'd have to zoom out and see. Didn't give me their info. But these are other people simulating their flights, and depending where you're going, you can have air traffic control coverage. So, New York tends to have coverage. Boston, you can see here, there's ground controller on approach. If we were if I were practicing more, there could be a neat flight flying from, what is, Long Island. So there's a control going on there, and so you could, get real ATC instructions basically on this whole flight. And the other cool thing is that you can see there's people probably crossing, not too many people crossing the pond right now. It's more northerly today. But look at Europe, always super, super busy. Look, here's hundreds of people playing and on the sim. And they'll do events and stuff at certain airports, like I know, where's is Frank? What's Frankfurt EDD? And that's where a lot of my air EDD H's hammered. Is that where am I? Yeah. In any case, they do events where they'll fully staff, and you'll have like 100 aircraft flying in. I will start at very low low populated airports, and there's special days where newbies can go on. So that's kind of where my speed would be at. But in any case, we're actually on the star now, or the arrival, so we should start thinking a little bit here, so we don't miss our topic descent point. So I'll do a little bit of our descent planning here. I will, and I've done this flight a lot, so I kind of have a pretty decent sense of what this is. But we would brief all these different altitude restrictions and speed restrictions as we're coming in. But we're ultimately going down to 6,000 feet, and we can read the instructions. We're landing 35 right, so it tells you kind of in terminology. We can read through this and figure out where we have to be, and so you can follow that. And we also get kind of different rules and regulations up here about what aircraft are allowed to be doing this, the transition level, and other information. So, J Money, my dog, chicken. Yeah, these are pretty funny ones. So, yeah, so I'd be looking at that. The other thing I'd be doing here is checking what our weather is looking like in Louisville. So, I would start setting some of that here as well. So I can start doing some of my descent planning. And what I will do is, well, I'll think about our actual, one thing I can do is at least, this is probably too early to be doing this, dialing in 30.25 our local baro, but I'll get it at least close, or local QNH, and I will go in and start thinking about our landing. So in the Zibo mod, what's nice is there is a landing calculator. So we're going to KS, or Kilo Sierra Delta Foxtrot. We are landing 35 left. It is, I believe, last I checked, clear and dry there, and there are actually no winds at all. So 000 at 0. Winds. Does it take that? I have to figure out this a little better. But I can't quite tell how to get this inserted with, like, no wind. Alright, fine. Outside air temperature, it's a little cooler, 11 degrees Celsius. And the local QNH now is 30.25. Enter. We'll do a flaps 30 landing, so just typical for these kind of approaches and landings. Air conditioners on, anti-ice is not going to be needed. Usually we need brake 3 on 35 left, and so speed brake auto, reverser. We'll do no credit for this, even though we will be using the reversers, and we'll be putting in the landing weight. So the way you find that is you come and look here. So we're approaching the top of descent, so I'm actually, just so we don't miss it, I'm gonna dial in at least one of our first restrictions. So I know I need to be below 230 and above flight level 20 at G'day. So I'm just gonna dial in 20 first here. And once we hit the top of the descent point, the Boeing will automatically, since we're in VNAV, will automatically start its descent. And I don't want to miss that. So, so as we're approaching it, here it comes. That's, you can see this call out here is, you can see my throttles are slowly starting to come back. These planes, you basically, the idea here is to be, if you can plan this perfectly, you would get your engines to idle and essentially fall out of the sky over however many nautical miles you need, and land. So that's what's going on here at this top of descent point here. So we're starting our descent, LNAV, VNAV path, and we'll see some indicators here coming in about whether or not we're actually on the right path or not. This is something I'll also need to top of descent. It calculated this extra top of descent. I'm not sure if that's a me fault or just one of these restrictions on my descent. But the other thing I can do is get our descent winds. I probably should have done that earlier because it would affect our descent planning a little bit. So again, another thing I should look at, and also remember to set my heading bug. Okay, so forecasts are ready. Let's go ahead and load those in. Uplink wind loading. All right, and I'll execute, and there they go. All right, so we are descending, looking good. I'm gonna continue with our, what I was gonna do to show you is, down in our flight computer, and you can also follow me along here. If we go to our init ref page, it gives us our approach ref page. And this is where we set in all the parameters for what flaps we're using, what speed we're gonna be landing at, so that we get the indicators on our speed strip and land at the right speed and in the right settings, and this will check all that. Gives us our ILS too. So our current gross weight is 139.7 1,100 pounds. So let's we're not going to be losing too much more weight here, so I'm gonna go ahead and punch that in 139. Let's say I should check that too if I need to account for that too much here. Let's just go with that. All right, and now we can do our calculator. Actually, auto brake 3 is like a very hard landing now. Let's go auto brake 2 and see what we get. All right, that looks better. We got plenty of room. I still need to figure out why this is on meters, but there's our VREF speed 150. So that's the VREF plus 5 at 30 knots. So what I'll do here, and we can see the Zibo is pretty close to that, so 146, and we would add that 5 knots of correction. And so, because at least last I checked, there was some headwind coming from that direction earlier in the day, I believe. So what I will do here is select our, I'll go with the Zibo speeds here, 146 plus 5, so 151, 151 knots will be the speed that we're ultimately looking for on our landing. So the other stuff I'll do is on my charts, familiarize myself with our landing procedure or our approach here. So we're doing the ILS 35 left, and like I said, the ILS is, you can see here, it's a beam that shoots out from the airport, and it helps orient your aircraft with the runway. And most of the time, I know at least in the US, it seems like ILS landings are fairly common. I'm also going to dial down our altitude again. One thing nice about the VNAV and the Zibo is it's been pretty good for me, even though you tend to get very fast. So like right now, I'm quite fast. I just got the drag required notice. I'm going to go ahead and pull our speed brakes here. And I'm actually just going to set the final altitude 6,000 here. But as you can see, one thing I noticed, the Zibo mod, I mentioned it last time, it's very slippery, and so I need to really pull back on the brakes. And it turns out in these aircraft there are brakes. You can see kind of here, I can go to this back view. If you're ever flying in the aircraft and you see this panel come up, so the flaps come out here, this is the speed brakes. And they kind of come up, they create some extra drag and will help slow down the plane and increase descent rate as well. You can see I'm now coming back to my FMC speed. I was coming in a little hot here. Yeah, still wants drag required, so okay, yeah, the other thing I want to do while I'm looking at the chart is set the ILS. So you want the ILS to, your beam. You dial that in. It's a navigational aid, and that sets you up. So this is a 109.35. Yeah, 109.35. set that as the active, and I can do that. Oh, that's weird. I can set that over here too. 109.35. So what this is I can actually there's two autopilots, and if it were really terrible weather conditions, you can arm both the autopilots and if your aircraft is able to do it and you're trained appropriately for it. All right, I once again wasn't paying better attention to my speed brake. It still keeps wanting to overspeed, but that was my fault. I should have got rid of the speed brake earlier, because I dropped under my FMC speed, and then the auto thrust decided to kick in hard and pushed us back over it. I'm just going to keep watching this for a moment. The other thing I need to remember to do is I need to configure my hardware a little better, because I don't have my speed brake totally lined up. So note to self, do that when I'm done. But yeah, it's like I got speed brakes out. It's hard for me to lose speed here. I need to be, there's a restriction coming up at 280. Lisa kind of right here, actually. You can see it tells us these restrictions. Gives us, the computer does a lot of the legwork for you. I know my decel point here, except it doesn't do that, the heading. I'm also realizing, once again, I forgot the damn chrono, so I have no idea how long I've been flying for. Alright, so now that I'm getting closer to the speed, I'm going to stow the speed brake. I was hoping to see it come down. In the Zebra mod, it comes up and down really, really quickly. I think in real life it might go slower than that. Okay, the other thing I'm going to review as we're coming in is our decision height. So as you're coming in on the landing, you will hit a point on the final approach where you need to make sure you're stable and on path. And if you're not, that's when the plane is going to call out minimums. And if you're unstable, that's when you have to go around. I am a very, very bad boy, and I have ignored this in the last stream, and I did all kinds of bad things in the last stream. This is also, again, showing you kind of the final waypoints along the way, and the altitudes you need to be at in order to intercept the beam. The beam basically shoots out, not infinitely, but and so you want to intercept it at a certain altitude, at a certain speed, at a certain lateral point, and you'll kind of feel it, and it will take you down until you stick the landing. So 3025. I just passed 18,000. So I want to set the local barometric pressure. In a real plane, both you and the co-pilot would do it, and I would set it here, but I have it configured just to do that more easily here. Anyway, so about the if we look down here, there is our VREF speed, and the decision height was 664 feet above ground level. So this knob here will set the minimums. So 6, and this knob is a little annoying to work with. I am also really happy that I will be, this panel, WinWing just made this panel, and so I will be getting that soon in the mail. I'm super excited. It's the last thing I need to complete my little WinWing setup, so I'm really stoked about that, because this panel is, again, one of those ones that it's annoying to look at. All right, 6. Because I really don't like manipulating the knobs in the actual aircraft. 7. Oh, 664 feet above ground level. It will bark at us and say, "Hey, can you land or not? Or should you land or not?" And that's what we got. So ordinarily, we can see ourselves now, or we're on our on the arrival, and we're looking good on all of our restrictions. As you can see, this one, we want to be below 13,000, above 11,000 feet, and we're just gonna reach it there. There we go. No tickets. And we'll be slowing down soon. Believe it or not, because I'm gonna try something here. I've had trouble slowing this bad boy down, even though technically, as you're descending, I'm gonna be, slowing our rate. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the speed window here, and I'm just gonna get us down to, like 250 or something. I just want to take my time a little more here, because like I said, the last couple times I've been coming in hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of hit the brakes here and slow down. Like I said, mainly because I've had trouble burning power off the, with my power management, my kinetic energy management, I should say. That essentially with the Zebo mod, I've been having a lot of trouble slowing down on my final approaches. So maybe I've just been kind of coming in too hot. So let me, dial it back a bit. And we're in no great rush. So as we're sort of slowing down here, I'm gonna go ahead and put stow the speed brakes back. And okay, they already retracted. Yeah, they go really fast in the Zebo. I thought it was better than that. Oh, the other thing I'll do is set our runway course. So we're landing 35. We're just doing the regular ILS. 35 left. Okay, and we see the heading is 350. So I'll go ahead and set that here. 350. Alrighty, things are looking good here. The one thing I am going to do is I like to set another fix. So I'll come down here and I'll grab the runway 35 left and copy it into the scratch pad. Go into my fix page. I don't need that share waypoint anymore, so I'll put it in here. But then what I will do is I like to draw an extended center line out because that's consistent with the ILS. And if we were, say, got radar vectors to turn, which actually we are going to be doing, it gives us a good visual reference point there. So what you do is to draw an arrow out that direction. I'll put the radial, so the reciprocal of the 35 is that's 170. And I like a 10 nautical mile ring around the runway, and also like a /5, and that draws a 5 mile circle around the airport. And so oh, we're under 10,000 feet, so I should have done stuff like and start turning on some lights. But yeah, just to kind of finish that thought, if I go on to the plan mode here and go back to my legs page and kind of step through, you can see now at the airport, let me zoom out a little, I've got these rings. So what I'm going to do, and there's my extended center line that's being drawn out. I know on my map that I'll be at 6,000 at deeper, and then I'll want to get down to 3,000 at that first waypoint I have on here, Knox. So I'll start a little, I'll start us down once we get past deeper, and we'll pretend we got turned in on the ILS toward Knox. So yeah, so I just wanted to show you that. Go back to the map, and again, that's just kind of for situational awareness. It helps me get a sense of where the hell I am. And again, set our heading. And this will be important to make sure our heading is in the right place now because I will be going into heading mode. So, on this arrival, we don't have any speed restrictions coming up, but I should be slowing down. Okay, 1,000 to go. This is the thing I wanted to show you. If I wanted to be nicer to my, I guess my cargo, I could like, slow down the descent rate, so it's nice and easy. Because we're well at our, we're right at 6,000 here at Die Hard. Although actually, I didn't realize that first restriction was. So let's go back to VNAV, open up the speed window. Yeah, and we can start slowing down to 240s. All right, so we're close to. I think we might get yelled at. We're a few hundred feet above that. We have to be at 6,000 at Die Hard, and I'm a little high. So again, so maybe some bad boy stuff here. Okay, and the last thing I want to do is set my auto brake. We set auto brake 2. And alright. So I believe that's everything. Oh, I guess I can turn the seatbelts on. I never turned them off. Okay. All right, so we are getting there. Exciting. So we're at 6,000 feet. So I'm actually gonna bring us down to our up speed. At this point, I know I can slow down. Again, this is something I want to do anyway, to sort of get my aircraft into a better state before I start the landing. But we can see here's beautiful Louisville, and we're probably flying right over downtown. Let's go to the other side. So there's the airport. I noticed on X-Plane I'm not really having good draw distance. I should make sure I have that set up. Usually you can see, some of the buildings, unless I'm looking at the wrong place here. Nope. No, the bridges aren't there. Well, am I that far south? Maybe I should look at the map so I have a better idea. Anyway, let's concentrate for a sec here. We're about to be going into sort of some of our. We're gonna be off our VNAV and just be on speed, and I'll go just level change and get us down to 3,000 to hit that Knox waypoint, and then that should pick us up on the. I guess I can go down to 240. And just go straight to Cardinal. Cardinals are the local football team. College football team. So yeah, I guess I did not really think about how far over. Yeah, because downtown Louisville, there we go. Ooh, on X-Plane it's really hard, but yeah, I'm only getting kind of the generic scenery there. Oh well. Okay, but let's focus. So I can do our little approach checklist here. So my nav radios are set, altimeters are set. We've still got calm, no winds. Auto brake is set. Missed approach procedure. I've reviewed many times, but we'll climb to 1,000, left to 4,000, and lights are on. Fasten seatbelts are on. So that is our approach checklist complete, and we will get our landing checklist going once I. All right, so now we're kind of heading away from the airport. Now here's where setting the heading bug is the important. So if I didn't do that, once we get off, you know, you want this to be on the heading that you're traveling. So here I set the setting bug 170, and so we're passing Knox. We can go ahead at this point. I'm gonna head and go into and select heading select. Goes. We don't need VNAV. Alt hold speed mode. So there we go. MCP speed heading select alt hold, and I'll go ahead and start. We're passing Knox. I'm gonna go ahead and start getting us down to at least that 3,000 for Knox. So level change, retard, heading select. And you know, if I wanted here too, I could go and punch in Knox here, and it would draw a line. So if I executed that, I could go into LNAV, for instance, and it will now turn us onto that. Yeah, so there we go. Now this is kind of a little sloppy to go into the LNAV. I should have just sort of vectored us over, but yeah, we're just going to get down to that 3,000 once we hit Knox, and by that point we'll be hitting the ILS. Although really I should just go back into heading. Yeah, let's go heading select. I can turn us on to our final hit toward Knox. Alright. So once I get about 10 miles, actually, you know what, just since I've been trying to work on speed, I'm gonna start slowing down. Let's go flaps 1. I'll go down to the flaps 1 speed as we get closer. Alright, so we're coming into the ILS here. And you can see these diamond indicators here. Alright, check. That's showing us when we're at the right height to capture the glide slope, and then we'll slowly start seeing this one come in, this diamond, and that's showing us as we get, that's our deviation from the ILS. And I've had the Zebo kind of go wonky on me before, so I'm not going to do that. But what I will do here is, as we're coming into the ILS, I will arm the LNAV, or excuse me, VOR lock. So we have VOR lock, MCP speed, alpha fired. So we're kind of coming in below the glide slope, and as now you'll start seeing the vertical deviation indicator start coming down. So there it is. When it feels like that, that means we've sort of got it. So I'm gonna go ahead and arm approach mode, and I'm gonna start again slowing us down. I can set the runway heading 350. Okay, let's go flaps 5 and just keep bleeding off some speed. So what's gonna happen now? We have glide slope lock. As we hit the glide slope path, you'll see glide slope lock, there we go, and it will start taking itself down the aircraft. And again, I'm doing this pretty slow just because I don't want that to screw up again, but we can see we're sort of doing our thing. Here's let's see if we can see that. Yeah, so this indicator here is showing us how we're doing on the glide slope. So there's 2 white. That shows us if you're too high, you'll get 3 white, 4 white. Too low is red. So red, bad. White, also bad. But here we are, bang on, 2 and 2. So here we go. We're going. I'm gonna go ahead and dump lower the gear and get a close spot model configuration. Go flaps 15. Slow us down to flaps 15 speed. All right, let's. I need my start switches continuous. There we go. Auto brake on. Let's arm the speed brake and let's do our landing checklist. So engine start switches continuous check. Altimeters are set in check. Auto brake is auto brake 2. Okay, good. Speed brake is armed. Landing gear are down. Flaps. So let's go now to our final VREF speed at to our final config. We had said we're going to add a little bit, so we're going to come in at 151 knots. So we've got right now some little bit of kind of crosswind coming from the front, telling us we have a high sink rate. The plane did dive down a little bit there. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and manually grab the throttles and
1,000 feet stabilized.
disarm the auto
altitude set.
auto thrust, so that now I have control and I can sort of manage our speed that way. So there's auto thrust is off. And about 1,000 feet, I'll kind of take over and try and fly this the rest of the way in. So our speed, our pitch and power looks good here. I'm gonna back off a little bit, maybe about 57, 58%. All right, so we're kind of coming up to 1,000 feet. Let's. We got a little wind from the right. So there's. I did it again. Fucking Togo mode. I'm gonna go ahead and go flight directors off, and we'll go visual here. That button is so goddamn sensitive. In any case, let's concentrate here.
Approaching
I'm a little high, but maybe a lot high, but
minimums.
we're okay, stable enough. Continue. The visual here might sort of
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
flare. Ooh, oh, and it bounced. All right, that was all kinds of bad. We're going to jail for that one. All right, reverse is on. Auto brakes. And we'll take
80 knots.
all right. Reversers off. Manual brakes. All right. So again, bummer. Terrible. Well, I did not redeem myself because I did the same mistake. That's the no-no. I'm supposed to. The whole point of this. No mistakes twice. Anyway, we're going fast here. I'm gonna go ahead and come to a stop here. I won't go on tilt. Oh, as we cross a runway too. You know, this is now like a total disaster. Let's pretend we got clearance to cross that runway. Ooh, good. Perfect timing too. All right, so I'm gonna come to a complete stop here. Set the parking brake. So yeah, that was really bad again. I bounced very high. We had glide slope deviation, hard landing. Again, even though I didn't panic as bad, I have to change that that winding. All right, so the speed brakes and the spoilers, but again, that was just totally unstable landing. I bounced, but again, once again, that's why I'm here, to try and get a little better. So I do have to run because I want to watch another someone who's actually good at this stuff. So thanks again for joining me. I think next time and probably tomorrow, I am just going to fly some patterns so I can do some like touch and goes and get a little better about some of this, because I haven't really been enjoying or getting my landings quite right. And once again, that damn toga button triggered. So, all right, well, I will fix that. And for now, I'm going to be taking off. So, yeah, so again, thanks for joining along. That was a lot of fun. I always have fun doing these streams, and they give me something to go and watch. So enjoy some more musical stylings of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Again, my name is Nate. I will learn from my mistakes as best I can, and we will go from there for next time. In the meantime, again, enjoy some King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. The song is called Rats in the Sky. See ya.
Do my own thing. You're a scumbag, man. I do like eating the scraps.
You like chicken?
I do like chicken. This one's about them chickens in the sky.
Bread crusts are my banquet, puddles are my wine. A revel in the present, each moment a lifetime.